On today's episode, we have the honor of inviting the founder and director of Andadrishna Nepal, an organization that works tirelessly on breaking the silence on child sexual abuse in Nepal. This is the woman who has over 2 decades of experience as a counselor and psychologist. Please welcome Ms. Binita Adhikari. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
To start off our interview, I would like to ask a bit about what your organization, Andadrishna, actually is. Why was it formed and how does it operate exactly?
Okay. Andadrishna Nepal is established with a vision from empathy. Okay? So people frequently, ignore the suffering of the victim.
Yes.
And they are into the offender. Okay, offender should go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fine. That is completely fine. But no one is taking care or feel that, the pain of
Yes.
the abused children.
Yes.
So because of that, I wanted to open Andadrishna Nepal. Antar is inner and Drishti is sight. Only because of the inner sight, we can feel that grief, that that suffering, that traumatized children, that burden of abused children. So that is how it started.
Yes.
That is it's been 22 years now.
How's it going now?
It is very, very, actually, it's not easy. It's very challenging. It's very sensitive. It's risk-taking.
Yes.
It is going well. That's why we are sustaining for this long. I have that determination, dedication, and along with my team members. Without that, I only could not do that. So people still don't talk about sexual abuse.
Yes.
It's very hard, even though it's been 22 years now. Before 22 years, you can imagine we would not have sat like this and talk about sexual abuse openly. But still now we can do that. So it is running well in a sense that at least children, those who are the victim of sexual abuse, can come to our safe home and get them healed, get out of that trauma. So I can say proudly that it's going well. And we are able to serve as many as kids.
And we're glad to hear that it's going well.
Thank you.
As a psychological expert, someone who has 20 years of experience in counseling, I wanted to ask you, how does a child process abuse differently from an adult exactly? For example, what role does being abused in the developmental stage affect the child?
Let me go back to one of the case. We have come across 2 years old abused child. She was bleeding like hell. Yeah. And she has got 20-25 stitches.
Yes.
She really don't know what happened to her.
That's
she was
terrible.
only 2 years old.
Yes.
And she will forget everything, But once they grow up and at least they can think of what happened, if they don't get the right counseling, right professional, in a right time professional help, they will develop so many things.
Yes.
So many things. But as a child, what they will do is they don't have they get nightmares.
Yes.
They get irritated. The anger is there. And sometimes what happens is the adult, those who abuse the children, they say to the kids that it's a game. And it's a secret game between you and me. So if that word secret is there, we have to teach the kids that if the word secret is there, it's between you and me, that is something wrong. So they perceive it like that. They are afraid of male, because it generally happens to girls.
Yes.
It's 1 in 4 girl child and 6 in 1 boy child is abused before the age of 18. That's a survey. So that's why I said male. So
You mentioned how the children might become afraid of males. There is a psychological theorist, I believe, Sigmund Freud.
Yes.
His theory on psychosexual development. He theorized that depending on the different stages that you have trauma, your behavior later in life is influenced differently.
Exactly.
What's the difference between being abused when you are, let's say, 5-year-olds versus being abused when you're 12-year-old?
Yes, the 5 years old, they have that something is wrong with them because they are not vocal at that time.
Yes.
They just can't say this is wrong, this is right. They can just feel it and they can act it.
Yes.
But in the age of 12, at least they have some words, the vocabulary is going on well, so they can speak about what happened to them. So that is the difference. They can show it through behaviors, and the one who grew up, they can speak up as well and show it in the behavior.
Yes. Also, speaking of Sigmund Freud, specifically, there are many disorders, as you may know, that may come as a result of abuse, ranging from OCD, anxiety, depression, PTSD.
Yes.
Is it so clear that we can attribute at what age you get abused, you can predict what sort of trauma coping mechanism you might develop later on?
It's not, we can't say it which age and they will get this later, but in any age,
yes,
when they are conscious enough to feel that it's wrong,
yes,
they can develop all these kind of things, so that if they get the right professional help at right time, there is less chance of developing all these behaviors later.
I also believe there's a lot of extraneous variables that impact the child's trauma response, right? Depending on the child's own gender, depending on the perpetrator's gender, the cultural biases, all of those things considered, it is really impossible to predict the outcome of the behaviors in the child later on as an adult.
Yes. Because even now, as I said, we are in the 21st century. The victims are made to feel guilty about what happened to them. So that the girl child, the family of the victims, they don't want to come out. It is happening to male child as well, but in a lesser ratio. But because of that, the families still don't want to report the case. Very less is people are reporting the cases. So many things, please, in this issue.
All of these extraneous variables.
Yes, so many. Still, the victim, all the society, they blame the victim for what happened to them. So it's very, I have a goosebump while telling you all these kind of things.
It's terrifying.
Yes, it is.
I recently read a psychological research paper on children. It was conducted by Bandura et al. I believe it was 75 children aged 3 to 7 years old, toddlers. They were exposed to adults who showcased very violent behaviors. And it turns out when you see adults in your life do such violent behaviors, as a child yourself, you're more likely to imitate such behaviors. For victims of abuse, how likely is it that they might grow into imitating such behaviors they have witnessed from their adults in their lives?
That is very true. Because again, what I would like to say is, if they don't get the right counseling at the right time, they will develop that because they want to dominate other, so that they will show that they will abuse other children as well when they grow up. So they need to have a right professional help in the right time.
How would you operationalize the term dominance in the children? How would such behavior be seen? Can adults catch on early about these types of behaviors?
Absolutely. It's abuse. It will not happen just like that. They plan it. They plan it. They groom the child, and only they do the touching, molesting. Slowly they groom, they bring them in their own confidence, and slowly this abuse happens.
It is a prominent problem in society today. All of the children in our world are less protected because the internet now exists, and it exposes them to thousands of predators, even online, outside of their home.
Yeah.
What are some early signs of psychological distress in a child that can be identified, even if they don't verbally express it?
Yes. They show two extreme behavior. If they used to be active, they are passive now. They show more inappropriate behavior. They have more anger. They have nightmares, sleep disturbances. They don't do good at schools, and those are the symptoms. If they don't do good they don't get good grades, what the family will do, what the parents will do is just scold them.
Yes.
You were very good before, but now see what happened to you. Your marks are going down. But we don't really go into the core problem, what they are facing. We don't have that patience, and we don't have that courage to ask the child what's going on with them.
What is the impact of the verbal sanctions that children receive from their own parents after facing abuse, and their behavior results in getting punished rather than getting any help?
Yes.
What would the impact be?
Yeah. First, they will get physical abuse, emotional abuse. They have gone the sexual abuse thing, and again the parents and the community will neglect them. See, all the abuses are there. So you can imagine what will happen to that particular small little children there.
Yes.
Everything, emotionally they were scolded, physically, and people are talking about the abuse thing there, and they are verbally, because of you this happened. People keep on telling them,
playing the blame game.
Yes, right. And then the neglect is there. Come on, go. And the families, the society, everyone just neglect that child. And that particular child will go so many psychological, emotional disturbances.
It also doesn't really help that we have a lot of cultural and gender biases in our country. People don't usually assume that young boys would be victims of such abuse. Or perhaps if the child has any neurodivergence that was not diagnosed, it might be even harder for them to communicate their problems.
Exactly. As I said, we are in the 21st century, and slowly the cases of girl child is coming out.
Yes.
People can't think of the boy child getting abused, but there are so many boy children are there who have gone through all these kind of sexual abuse. That's even pity for those boys. They can't speak it. They feel guilty about themselves. They don't like it. Because being a boy, I was abused. That's that self-confidence, the self-esteem.
In sociology, there's this term, fragile masculinity. When society forces this idea that a man must not show any weaknesses, should not cry or ask for help.
Yes, absolutely.
It does make the situation worse, doesn't
it? Worse. Yes. They can't speak up. Because it's not only the male who abuses children. Even the female also do that sometimes, So it's very less, but yes.
It still exists.
It does, yes.
Earlier you mentioned how a 2-year-old child had been abused and would have no recollection of it. However, there might be cases where the children might be old enough to remember it. However, due to psychological stress, they might repress these emotions and these memories of the trauma. What I would like to ask is, could you explain a bit about how memory might work in children who have faced such trauma or abuse? How frequently do you come across cases where the children's memories of a specific period and time has been completely wiped?
It will not wipe up because it's always there. The scar is always there.
Yes.
Because it will fade over the time, but it will not really go away. because that is a very, very heinous act. Somebody has done that.
Yes, but there are also psychological cases, like a lot of case studies done in the US and the UK have seen that when you face extreme amounts of trauma, your brain tries to have this coping mechanism where you suppress these memories to function better.
Yes.
Would you say this would be a good coping mechanism?
I don't think so.
Would forgetting it help the victims?
They will pretend to forget it. They close the brain, as you said. But if the similar situation arises, I don't know, I might be wrong. If the similar situation arises, maybe the brain will, forget it again.
No.
You never know.
That is a possibility.
That is a possibility.
Even if they're not fully conscious of it, their body might remember it.
Yes, because abuse generally happens from somebody whom you really are close to, the blood relation, somebody very loved one.
Yes.
So
that makes it more problematic. And when there is abuse, generally there's legal actions to be taken. That doesn't happen in every case, unfortunately. However, for cases that do tend to take the legal approach, the prosecution of these people who have abused children, the children who have tried to repress these memories, would it be right to have them brought forth in the court to give a statement or act as a witness against the perpetrator? Would bringing up such memories be bad for children?
What happens is the abuse happens and the child have to say that, because we don't have that mechanism to have the counselor there and their first-hand statement is, okay, no, because they have to go to the court and keep on saying it again and again, for twice or thrice times, So that will make the child re-victimized. We say that, but that is the system. That is the system here.
It is a bit peculiar, isn't it? Because in the psychological field, there's a different system that says that any harm, physical or psychological, done to a patient must be avoided at all costs, because that's a breach of ethics.
Yes.
However, it cannot be avoided in the legal system.
In those kind of things, no. Still, the government, I don't know, they are not that sensitive about all these kind of abuses. It's very difficult, actually. They should have a system change.
Yes.
Perhaps
a restraining order or anything to prevent the child from meeting the perpetrator.
Yeah, we can have it systematically, once and it's done. You need to have all these mechanisms ready for the abused children.
How does being exposed to their perpetrator after a long time affect the recovery of the child who had faced abuse in the past? Would this vary from case to case?
Once again?
When a child is exposed to the person who had abused them in the past, while they're still recovering.
Sense, exposed?
Exposed in the sense, just contacting in general, communicating with them again.
The perpetrator?
Yes.
No, they will not get.
I was trying to ask, would that affect their recovery if they...
Of course. Because in many cases, what happens is, in our safe house, we receive cases from the lower economic status and from the villages more. So they don't even have to talk to the perpetrators, even the society. That will have something in the victim, that feeling of fear is still there.
Yes.
So it's very difficult for them to forget and be happy with going back to the family. It's very difficult, yeah. Even the perpetrator's family will be scary for the victims.
That is so unfortunate.
Yeah.
As someone who works professionally with such cases, as a counselor, as someone who has an extensive knowledge in psychology, What exactly do you do to ensure that the process is safe if the child has to make a legal statement, for example?
At least in the court or in the police station, they should have a counselor sit there and take all the statement, and that should be the final statement for the children. They don't.
But what steps are taken to ensure that it is more safer for the child?
Safer for the child. They have to go to the police station. That's for.
Yes, but perhaps something like mental reinforcement. For example, when you have a child who doesn't want to behave a certain way or doesn't want to do something, you give them positive reinforcement by giving them small rewards and things like that. Or there's also negative reinforcement, taking away something that affects them negatively. So it's promoting good behavior in them. Is there any such process being taken to help children better understand the world around them and adjust to the society and the legal system?
Yes, we have to treat them as a normal other human being. They are not someone like displayed kind of animals.
Yes,
or
of course.
They are humans.
Yes.
They have gone through one heinous incident. That's it. And they are normal. They go to school. They go to normal schools. They're all normal children,
Yes.
But what we feel is when I talk to people, what they think is, okay, can I come and see the children? Of course, you can come and see the children. They are normal children, but don't ask them any personal questions.
Yes.
They are all normal.
As long as it does not breach ethics, triggers any bad memories.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
We have to be cheerful in front of them. And what we generally do is, in the world, all the people are not bad.
Yes.
Not all the people are bad.
Yes.
There are so many nice people, kind-hearted people there. So go, confront them, talk to them.
It is important to give them hope.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. They have to go to normal school. They do all the normal things, but their counseling is going on, because they are scary inside.
Yes.
Before, what we used to do is we for many years we never entered the male personalities in our safe house, because they get very scared of all the male personalities. But later, what I thought is, okay, all the people are not bad. Without male, their life will never sustain.
Yes.
They have to be together. So we try to bring nicer people in the safe house, interact with them, and slowly their self-confidence and self-esteem started boosting up.
A sort of exposure therapy.
Exposure therapy. Yes.
The in vivo method, as you would call it.
Yeah. So that is the reinforcement, because they are very normal people.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the recovery of children who have faced abuse, are there any specific tools or methods that your organization uses that is very effective with helping them psychologically?
Art therapy.
Yes.
Yes, art therapy is there, and dance therapy is there. So we use all these kind of play therapy, sand therapy for smaller children, and they really enjoy it, and their feelings come out in that art therapy so that they can heal it.
Yes.
So
would you suggest art being as a distraction or rather as a tool for tackling?
Tool for they need to vent what's inside, so they will vent it through art.
It's very funny that you've mentioned venting through art, because recently in media we have seen a huge surge of a trend called vent art. Many 13-year-olds today post art of their everyday lives, how they feel negatively about the society.
Okay.
What are your opinions with regards to such a rise in vent art?
Vent art?
Yes.
I haven't noticed that. You mentioned it. We do that actually, because they have to somehow get out their feeling somewhere, so that they will feel more calm and relaxed. So what were you saying? Sorry, that was
a vent art trend.
Vent art.
Yes.
Okay.
it is a very massive trend where
nowadays. No, I did not
you
know.
may see it on social media such as
Okay.
TikToks, Instagram, even YouTube.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. At least if they can't talk to anyone,
Yes.
at least they can just scratch it.
Yes.
Draw it.
Alternatively, I would like to ask, what about the people who view the event art? Children may produce art, which is good for them. However, such negative portrayals of the world, when other children their age view it and see that children, their peers, are viewing the universe in this way, will this negatively impact the other children who view these arts?
Well, to negatively take, they need to know what is there first. And in the art, they will not write it, it's just an art. So people will perceive in a different way.
Yes. Beauty does lie in the eye of the beholder.
Yes.
Everything's too subjective.
Yes. So their peer will view it in a different way.
Yes.
So,
but is there anything we can do to tackle such an issue in social media today? Exposure of children to all of these negative portrayals of the world, such as being filled with abusers, pedophiles.
Of course, because of this internet thing, many children are the victims of abuse and all. We really need to really need to stop all these things. The government should be very strong in delivering all these kind of things, because many children are the victims of abuse nowadays. Because they are the future of our nation. So we really need to carefully, kindle them, handle them. This is the government part. They really need to be very strong with all these things.
I mean, we see children as young as 3-year-olds on their iPads or their parents' phones,
absolutely,
exposed to all of these media. And like I mentioned earlier, Bandura et al. When a child is exposed to an adult doing specific types of behavior, they're more likely to imitate it. When they are exposed to such types of behavior on media, or they're exposed to people who may attempt to hurt them in any way, should there be any legal measures to restrict this? At what age can we restrict media and technology on children?
In any age, we can fall into negative things. There is no age bar, but children are vulnerable towards that. And as I mentioned, parents should be very tricky, very watchful, observant what the children are doing. First thing is the parents need to be very alert of what they are watching, what they are doing, and stuff like that. And in a bigger picture, the government should have, the rules and proper legal formation for all these kind of things. The government have the power, so at least they should do that, because 2-3 years.
There are parental controls that exist on social media accounts these days. Many parents can have access to their children's social media accounts, and these parental controls also extend to video games as well. Even the small games that the children play these days. However, it does not seem to be as effective in protecting the children.
We really have to have some awareness classes for children, which is good, which is bad. Along with that, simultaneously, the parents should also have all these kind of awareness classes. What is good, what is bad. The parenting thing is there, and in a bigger picture, as I mentioned, it's the government. They have the power to do everything. And I think 2-3 years back, they have blocked all the nonsense kind of websites. So they have that access, no? So government should be sensitive enough for all these kind of things, and parents too. And we can teach the children, because it's very easy to go towards the negative rather than the positive. It's so fascinating.
But there is an issue with awareness programs and lessons that are being taught to children in school. I mean, we have always grown up being told alcohol is bad, smoking is bad, and later on, children still grow into adults who become alcoholics and smoking addicts. Would you say that these programs unintentionally induce this demand characteristic effect of sorts that makes the children want to do things that they're told not to, as a sort of reverse psychology?
Before, when we were in school, we used to have that moral science
Yes.
classes
We still do, I believe. Yes.
in some of the schools, not in all the schools.
Yes.
So at least we really need to have all these induced in our curriculum.
Yes.
So that will teach you, because the small mind will take. We still remember so many different stories from childhood, learned in the moral science classes. So we need to have these things, and all these like sexual abuse, sex education, it is there, I think, now. So whatever we can do is we have to have it in the right from the
Yes.
beginning. So we have to make the child or the children bold enough to face the reality later.
Yes. We have
So-
talked about the victims of abuse
Yeah.
who have faced abuse. But I would now like to talk about the people who do the abuse. Specifically, there is a study done by Milgram. I believe you may know of this. It's a really famous case where anyone who is under an authority feels more enabled to do bad things to another person. Under this theory, do you think that the people who abuse children around them feel enabled because there's a higher authority that will take the blame for them? Is there anything that seems to be enabling these abusers to commit such crimes in the first place?
As I mentioned, I don't know if I'm giving the right answer or not, but the people who abuse children, they were abused somewhere in their lifetime when they were children, and they could not speak up, so that they wanted to do the same to others.
But does that justify their behavior?
Sorry?
Does that justify their behavior?
No, that is not just justifiable, but still the research shows that if they don't get the proper counseling, let's say, there is a high chance of them being an offender later in their life. I don't know, I answered your question or not, but
what measures could we take to prevent enabling abusers in the first place?
Awareness. Education is the only thing. Education, and the powerful nature, the male dominating thing.
Changing the perspective on gender roles.
And male think that they can do anything.
Yes.
So that needs to be changed.
Yes.
That is, and the respect, the respect in the family, the respect for the mother, the respect for the wife.
All of these hegemonic rules that we seem to adopt.
Yes. And the female in the family should also be bold enough, to confront what's happening there.
Yes.
Because if they keep quiet, the son in the family is likely to abuse other females, So the mother also need to confront if she is going through all these abuses kind of a thing. It doesn't only have to be sexual abuse, it's violence, domestic abuse.
It takes many forms.
Yes, in many forms. And, because the daughter will copy the mother and the son will copy their father.
Yes.
We have seen that.
Yes.
Yeah. So many things are there. It's not.
From the macro perspective, for example, the structures in society like the government, I have seen there are countries like Singapore, for example, that have very strict laws and very heavy sanctions that could even be death sentences for such crimes. Would you suggest that such laws be put in place to prevent such crimes from taking place in Nepal?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because in our neighboring country, India also, they have the death penalty for abusers, but you can see many cases going on.
That certainly is assuring to hear. Now that we have come to the end of our episode, I would like to give you a small token of gratitude to say how much we appreciate your contributions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
At the front, you may notice the words Ad Meliora written. It means towards a brighter future.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.